Still just walking around downtown Detroit. As I showed you earlier, in some parts of downtown there's a lot of vacant storefronts and stuff, and some office buildings that don't look to be occupied. But then you come to other areas of downtown, like I think right now I'm walking over in the Greek district, or the Greek town, that's right. And there's a bunch of bars and restaurants around the ballpark and stuff. There were a bunch of bars and restaurants, so it's kind of funny, you know. Some parts of downtown really did look like a ghost town, and other parts of town, like where I'm about to walk through, look okay. In Greek town right now, you can see the sign. It's kind of like a little area with a collection of, you know, a couple blocks of bars and restaurants. It's kind of cool. Might check it out later today. So I just got another cup of coffee in the Astoria pastry shop. They looked like really good pastries. Not quite hungry yet. It's still pretty early, like 8:30. So I think a cup of coffee is good for now. Oops. Didn't realize this was a video. I was just going to say this is a cool church here, St. Mary's Church, right at the edge of Greek town, and still very much downtown. I was also going to say, I got my hat off right now. It has definitely started to warm up downtown, which is nice. So one thing I had read about Detroit was how much interesting architecture is here. And no, I'm not talking about this big tower. That's actually a pretty boring building. But across the way here, you have a smaller, older building, the Detroit Cornice and Slate Company's old building, and you can see it's got a lot of very ornate, intricate masonry work. You've got friezes and cornices, and yeah, that was all carved out of stone. And actually, that's a joke. No, none of it was carved out of stone. If you come over here and take a look at this plaque, you will see that it was all done using metal that was stamped into those shapes and formed that way. I don't think I've ever seen that on a building before. I don't think I've ever heard of that on a building before. But if you look up there, you can definitely see how it's a piece of metal. You can see a bolt going into the side of it. If it weren't for that plaque, though, I would have never ever guessed that. Whoops, almost dropped the phone again. So arguably Detroit's most famous buildings, though, are going to be the big high-rises that were built for General Motors corporate headquarters there. And you've got a good shot of them. They're big glass towers, which is definitely a juxtaposition to the you know, steel frame and then masonry facade buildings that make up much of downtown Detroit. You can also see how they are kind of separated. There's a fair gap between you know, what was the original downtown and then these huge office towers built by GM. So this is a spot right in downtown Detroit. Kind of interesting. Frederick Douglass and John Brown. Well, I was trying to videotape that plaque, and it was actually kind of cool story about Frederick Douglass meeting up with, oh gosh, now I can't remember his name. John Brown, I think was his name, the really radical white abolitionist who died in West Virginia. But anyways, yeah, no, like security guy came up and said that you couldn't videotape or take any pictures on Blue Cross Blue Shield's property. Kind of funny, but anyways, doesn't really matter. He was actually ended up being a nice guy, told me a few things to check out downtown, and the thing he suggested was coming down here to the Renaissance Center. That's the big GM office buildings that I pointed out earlier. Apparently there's like a, I don't know, cool little place to check out or something. Here are the towers of the Renaissance Center, and you can see the track of the people mover going through. And right through there, on the other side, is Windsor, Canada. Here we are, right outside of General Motors. These are big towers. So here's kind of a cool shot of downtown Detroit. Right across the way, those tall buildings over there, not these ones right here, but like those in the distance, are in Windsor, Canada. You can see you've got the duty-free shop right there, and then you've got some of the tall office buildings in downtown Detroit, as well as the General Motors Renaissance Center. A couple interesting things right here. You can see these like tall walkways between buildings there, and you've got one running along here. There's one crossing the road. All across Detroit, I've seen these elevated walkways, which, I mean, you know, theoretically are good. It's kind of a cold city. It lets people stay inside, but on the other hand, it really cuts down on pedestrian foot traffic, which kind of leads to things feeling empty downtown, so I'm not a huge fan of them. Also coming up here, you can see straight ahead a little pyramid. That is the base for the like Louis Armstrong I don't know, fist monument that you see in all those Chrysler commercials. So let's go check that out. Here we are at the sculpture I was telling you about. We're right downtown and right on that Hart Plaza, like waterfront area that I was walking around. It has a lot of sculpture down here. I'm gonna go check out this big ring sculpture here titled Transcending. So yeah, let's see. I like this building. I don't really know why. I think it's just because of the, I don't know, horizontal lines, cool, like lower area, and then surrounded by sculpture and this pretty tree. So here we are, kind of in the heart of Detroit at campus Martius Park. Right here is Ernst & Young. That's where Shrino would work if he lived here. And you can see just a lot of tall office buildings here. One thing I thought was kind of cool, other than this statue, which is huge, and if you read here, you can see that it was designed and then moved 140 feet. I can't really imagine moving this thing, but cooler is that there's a time capsule here that will be open in like 100 years. I can only imagine, you know, what you would place in a time capsule in 2004 and what people's reaction might be in 2104. But anyways, it's intriguing. I like it. This is kind of cool. It's on the side of this huge building that looks like it was a bank or something. I'll kind of pan out here and give you a little bit of a view. You can see, like, you know, it's all made out of stone and really cool columns and stuff. But here's definitely one of those buildings that you do hear about a lot in Detroit. I mean, it's just this super ornate building, but you can see inside, you know, it's abandoned, paint's peeling off the walls. I don't really understand how you build a building as nice as this and you can't find any use for it. It looks like, you know, it's like some adult education center for a little bit, but even that's closed. Oops, not meant to be a video, but I guess you can still read this. It's about Fort Laremont, which is on this site downtown. Just walking around Detroit still. Kind of walking back up in the direction of Comerica Park, and then I guess I will try and see like the orchestra building and head back. Right here is just this huge tower. I kind of get the impression that there may be nothing in there anymore, but it's kind of hard to say. I'm right on the, I guess it would be western edge of downtown. Kind of doesn't feel like the greatest neighborhood I've ever been in, but oh well, it seems okay. Here's a pretty big building that's abandoned. Kind of crazy. Definitely a TT. There's another one across the way. Yeah, I'm definitely not in a super nice side of downtown. So I'm just a couple blocks up here from where I just shot a couple empty buildings. You can see another empty one here. Coming up here is a scene from those imported from Detroit Chrysler commercials that is pretty famous. You can see it's just a stone or brick and stone masonry facade of a 7-story building that's held up entirely by metal here. There's no building behind it, but they saved the facade. Behind it is just like a empty lot. It's very weird. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. But yeah, there it is. Here's another shot of that facade just being held up. It's like got a metal framework built over the sidewalk and it's just clamped on there. And then of course, kind of ironically, right next to it you've got a big office tower that there's shops in the bottom, people in the offices. We're up on that like northern edge of Detroit. There's a park here. You see the People Mover over in that direction. You've got the ballparks and stuff. Coming up right here is the Detroit Beer Company. That's where Dave and I grabbed a bite to eat yesterday before the Red Wings game. It was a really cool place. I really liked it. Had a good time. It's around 10:15. I got my third cup of coffee. For somebody who never drinks coffee, as you can imagine, I may be a little wired right now. But yeah, no. Checkout's at 11, so I think it's time to go check and see if Dave's, ready to go. I feel kind of bad. We drove into Detroit yesterday, and I think we kind of drove through the worst part of town. Part of that was, accidental, and then the other part was I saw that train station that I had seen in a bunch of photos and wanted to go check that out. But I think it definitely made the city look sketchier than it really is. I mean, as far as downtown Detroit, I've walked around this morning and felt fine. I kind of wish he would have came out with me. He may have enjoyed it more than he thought. But anyways, no big deal. Maybe I can go back, pick him up, and we'll see a few other things. And so I'm coming back on the Holiday Inn Express here, and that will conclude your tour of downtown Detroit. I think me and Dave will probably do other things today. Right now, though, as a kind of cool side note, I'm walking past the Westin, which apparently is where the Columbus Blue Jackets were staying last night, so that's kind of cool. Dave and I kept an eye out for them, but didn't see anybody. They probably weren't in a very good mood after losing 7-2 last night.